Welcome to Safe Schools. I'm Commander Curtis Graves with the Mobile Police Department.
I'm Andrew Howard with the Mobile County Public School System.
Andy, we're going to have a great show today because we're going to be talking about safety with Director Lawrence Battiste, formerly the Chief of Police for Mobile PD. We want to talk about victim services. That's what we're going to start off with because it's so important for us to understand the importance of victim services in the law enforcement field.
Serve and protect.
Absolutely.
It's a good start.
We'll be right back.
Thank you.
I'm Ashley Rich, Mobile County District Attorney. The failure to obey school bus safety laws will cost you. It can cost you up to a $3,000 fine and the loss of your driving privileges.
But more than that, it could cost the life of a child. That's why the Mobile County Public School System is urging you to stop and obey all bus traffic laws. Hi, I'm Pat Mitchell, Director of Transportation for the Mobile County Public School System. We're asking you to obey all bus safety laws. It could save a life. Remember, stop ahead when you see red. Our future depends on it.
And we're back. Director Battiste, welcome to the Safe Schools program again.
Oh, thank you guys for having me back again.
Well, look, you have a lot of good information to share. First of all, I want to congratulate you with your promotion to Director of Public Safety. Hate losing you as the Chief of Police, but at the same time, very appreciative of you transitioning up to the role that you currently have.
Well, thanks.
Good work. It's appreciated, and we appreciate the work you've been doing, and we look forward to the work that you're about to do. What does that mean, Director of Public Safety?
Oh, first of all, let me say I'm humble, and I have been extremely blessed to be able to be put in the position that I'm currently serving in.
Yes,
What does it mean? What does it entail? I mean, originally, as the Chief of Police, my responsibilities daily was everything that happened within the police department. I had a direct hand in making sure that we were putting resources where they needed to be. So, becoming the Director of Public Safety, what they have done now is put me in a position to not only am I having a daily impact in what's happening on the police side of things, but also having an impact which happens on the fire department side of things. So
yes,
probably double my span of controls as it relates to personnel on a daily basis. And of course, making sure that all things that are related to public safety, whether it's enforcement actions or whether it's saving someone's home or providing medical services to someone, or just making sure that we we guide people in the right direction from a public safety standpoint. That's what I do now.
Well, that's wonderful. Mobile is fortunate to have you, and congratulations again that you're in a position to impact the community in a constructive and positive way from a leadership position. So the city is fortunate in that respect that you have had the experiences that you've already had, and now you're expanding that to a greater responsibility, which I'm totally confident you'll do well at.
And with that being said, let's jump right into one of the most important subjects that we could possibly talk about, and that's victim services. During your tenure as Chief of Police, you actually implemented the systems-based victim services program that we currently have in the Mobile Police Department. How important is that to you for the citizens of Mobile and for the police department?
Even before I got there, under the direction of Chief Barber, and then of course a continuation with myself, we've been trying to mold MPD from a warrior mindset dealing with law enforcement to more of a guardian mindset of how we deal with our community and the services that we provide. On our vehicles it says to protect and serve. And so we realize that part of our job is to protect our community from dangers seen and unseen as best we possibly can. But we also have a responsibility to provide a service back to our community. And so when we decided through collaboration with some of the efforts that came out of your division as being the commander of strategic initiatives. We looked at some programs that taught us about how we can serve our community better. And one of the ways that we could do that is creating a department victim service-based program. And so we've done that. What is victim services? It provides us the opportunity from a law enforcement perspective to hold the hand of those individuals that are victims of crimes and help them navigate through the process of the judicial system. Oftentimes when someone becomes a victim, an investigator comes out and he's trying to ask them questions about what took place. And rarely do we ask the question, "Are you okay?"
Right.
How do you feel? Do you have access to get to court and stuff like that? So our victim services program takes that leap to make sure that our victims are getting those type of questions asked and allowing some of our investigators to do their job in the way that they've always been able to do it, but not have to be as involved with the day-to-day information gathering about, hey, did they go to the hospital and get checked out, and do we have the doctor bills to go with that, so that when we go to court to prosecute that case, we're talking about restitution for that victims, we have the information that we need to have.
And first of all, I'm so happy to see that Mobile PD is in the forefront of doing things like this, because Mobile PD represents only one of 2 law enforcement agencies in the state of Alabama with a systems-based victim services program. As a former investigator myself, as well as you can only imagine if you had that resource during the time as an investigator. That would have been extremely important or beneficial, right? As an investigator, to have someone in place within your agency that is actually dedicated to working with victims.
Right.
I'd like to take a spin at this with the service concept. We live in a consumer society, and the person's experience with the business, agency, organization that they deal with, it's that experience they had that makes them want to do repeat business if necessary. First of all, they don't want to do business with you guys.
Right.
Either because somebody did something wrong to them or they did something wrong to somebody else. But on the side of that conversation where somebody's done something wrong to you, you want somebody to respond in a way that you had an experience that makes you say, "I'll do that again." If something else ever happens to me, I'm going to do that again. Because now, what's the counter to that is if they don't have a good experience, they don't want to come to you.
Right.
And that's not what we want. We want the citizens to feel as though there's a resource, one I can trust and depend on, that's going to come and take care of my experience in a way that makes me want to come back if I have to.
You're absolutely right. Again, obviously, we don't want repeat victims.
Right.
But what we're trying to do through having a victims service program is this. We're trying to make sure that our victims don't become perpetrators.
Exactly. That's what's on my mind.
If for some reason our victims don't get the treatment that they need, the referral to the programs that they need, they don't see the courts working fast enough to give them the justice that they seek, then they become perpetrators at some point, and so our goal is to let them know what the process is going to look like. Most people will spend a lifetime and never have any involvements with the courts, never. And then those people that happen to find themselves victims of crimes that have to be engaged with the judicial system, it's a slow process sometimes. People get frustrated because you're told to go to that door and maybe you don't get the help that you need, and you're told to go to that door and you don't get the help that you need, and nobody ever asks you how you feel, and all of a sudden you find yourself 2 years down the road and say, this case is getting ready to go to trial, and it was like, well, nobody told me. And so that's what our victim services program do. They hold our victims' hand. They make sure that they're informed about the judicial process,
right,
and potentially how much time it can potentially take for their case to be before a judge, and they get the justice that they seek in relation to the case. In some cases, you have victims that say, you know, I don't want to prosecute. And so in sometimes that's out of fear, not understanding what to expect next. And so again, as our victim service providers work with these victims and their families, we teach them about that process. We remove some of that fear and doubt about the system.
Chief, we're going to dive right into that because I think that's such an important topic. We're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back.
It's a fact. Bullying happens. Bullying can lead to serious physical and emotional pain. But there are some things you can do to prevent or stop it. Stand up for the person who's being bullied. Let the bully know that it's not cool to pick on others. Take action by reporting the bully to a teacher or principal. In the end, when you help someone who's being bullied, you are also helping yourself.
I believe my child's school is probably one of the best ones I could have picked in Mobile. She's in the PACE program. The teachers are phenomenal. The principal, I couldn't ask for a better principal. The research that I had done myself, I believe the quality of education in Mobile County Public School System is excellent. For me and my child, I'm going to stick with the public school system. I think it's the way to go.
And we're back. Director Battiste, let's dive a little deeper about victim services because a lot of people sometimes see victim services more singular than what it actually is because community-based advocacy has been around for a long time and they do great work in our community. We have a number of agencies that are doing phenomenal work. But what the PD is trying to do is a systems-based approach to victim services, not trying to duplicate any services that are already out there, but to come up with ways of providing more direct services in that immediate need of triage of a victim and that impact of trauma that they may have. Can you expound on that just a little bit for me?
So let me say this is that, you know, you're absolutely right. There are a number of victim services programs that are in our community, and that we have a great partnership and collaboration with Lifelines, Penelope House, the district attorney's office, and actually, you know, we've put together a victim service task force that works collaboratively together to try to address the things that I'm talking about now. But from a departmental perspective, it makes it easier, again, for our investigators to do some of the follow-up work that needs to be done. Our internal victim services-based program allows us to focus on those cases that are brought on by MPD. Our collaborators are working with all the agencies in Mobile County, and so therefore, you know, sometimes access to some of their service providers may be limited. Sometimes, because our investigators need immediate assistance with stuff, and they may be their personnel may be tied up on some other things, we have the ability to initiate the contact within the community and with our victims to begin that process. And then, of course, it becomes a referral process for us to make sure we're referring to Lifelines, a Penelope House, or any other social agencies within our community that we believe our victims could benefit from. You know, I spent about a year, maybe a year and a half working at the Child Advocacy Center. This was probably in the 1990s, all right? And it's, you know, it's amazing that here we are in 2021, and up until about a year and a half ago, we didn't have a victims services unit. But that's the way Child Ad Center did things. It was a multidisciplinary approach to addressing every case that came before the Child Ad Center. You know, MPD over the last 6-7 years has consistently tried to move how they provide services to victims in the direction of what they had at the Child Advocacy Center back in 1997, 1998. And the results are we have victims that are getting stuff that they need immediately, as opposed to getting a year or two down the road and finding out, yeah, this case is getting ready to go to trial, or yeah, we need to deal with the impact of the trauma that you experienced from that incident. Letting them know that just because it's taking a while for it to happen doesn't mean that justice is not going to come. You just have to be patient when you're waiting for justice sometime. And so we're thankful for the collaboration that we have with the other service providers in our community, but we also see where it's beneficial to us and how we work with the community and how people perceive us from a law enforcement perspective when we deal with victims out in the community. Now they have, yeah, they're glad to see us come because we're bringing something to them other than, hey, who did it?
Right.
You know.
Right. And you know, I'll say this too. One of the things that PD is doing is we're embracing more evidence-based policing. Not just from the enforcement side of it, but also from the victim side of it, understanding the impact of trauma, because that's something that everyone may not have known that term or considered that term as much as they do now.
Right.
We hear it so often, but we were talking about it years ago,
right,
understanding what that means, and that's why we were trying to drive some of these programs that we currently have to where they are today. So.
Yeah, the healing and the resolution aspect of it, from the perspective of the citizen who's been a victim. If they feel like at the end of the day, my problem was addressed and solved, that makes for an advocate between that victim and the police department, you know, and so those interactions, those relationships, you know, when as you say, when you do come out and say who did it,
they're more likely to share that information with us at that point.
Yeah, from that same person. Yeah, that person will say, well, you know what, when I called you, you helped me.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to do whatever it takes to help somebody else. So yeah, I don't know that there's a downside to the perception of I'm here to help.
You know, they look at it from the perspective of, hey, look, they don't just care about solving a crime and getting that stat, you know, off their sheet to say case closed. They saw me as a victim. They saw me as a person.
Yes.
And they treated me like a person. And so that's what we want to do with our victim services program. That's where, because we have a victim services program, our officers understand the impact, and they feel empowered because they're getting information sometimes that maybe they wouldn't have gotten, and they're getting it a lot sooner. They're getting, when our victims change phone numbers a lot of times, well, the officer might spend 3 weeks trying to call that person at a number, but because we have a victim service person, that person is keeping in contact with them because that victim service person is checking on how they're doing. Yes, you know, how are you doing? You know, did you go to the doctor today? You know, what did the doctor say? You know, and the other thing is, our victims, we have to remember this: if we don't treat our victims with compassion and concern, they become perpetrators at some point. What we want to take our victims from is from victimization to recovery. And if we can take them from victimization to recovery, the justice part will come, but the recovery is the most important part. Because if they live another 30, 40, 50, 60 years, we need them to be productive citizens within our community and provide something back to our community, because that's what makes our community great, having productive people in our community.
One of the things that comes to mind to me is the Maya Angelou quote that you often have on your email. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Yeah. And that's what we're trying to do. We're going to take a quick commercial break and be right back.
The Environmental Studies Center is a natural sciences education facility designed to provide unique learning experiences. In addition, wildlife rehabilitation plays a vital role each day at the center. Featuring more than 500 acres of rich woodlands, the center affords teachers, students, and the general public an opportunity to experience firsthand the natural environment. Environmental Studies Center. It starts with us in the Mobile County Public Schools.
Hello, I'm Renee Phillips, your host of Homeroom. Will you join us as we talk with the students, teachers, and staff about all of the great things happening in our schools?
That's right, Renee. Not only are we here to keep you informed about the great things happening in our schools, but to also keep you updated on safety issues.
Our show, Safe Schools, looks at ways to keep your child and our students safe.
Not only are we looking at ways to keep your child and our students safe, but to keep you informed on how to connect with us.
Manténgase informado aquí en Conexión a Padres.
And we also score big from pre-K to high school with MCPSS Athletics.
And then Inside Education puts it all together for you, showing you the ins and outs about news and events taking place across the Mobile County Public School District. We do this to keep you informed.
And we're back. Chief, I keep saying Chief because I'm so used to calling you Chief, but Director.
Well, I'll answer to either one of them.
I got you. But, you know, again, just looking at...
Spell my name right.
But going back to just the idea of the importance of making sure that we're not one-dimensional on our services was the idea that you and former director or chief of police Barber also had when all of this was being created, because I hear you both say oftentimes, you know, we have to have the sword but the olive branch also. Right. And that's so important for everyone to understand, people in the community as well as law enforcement.
You know, we were talking off during the break about the officer perspective and how are they, you know, digesting this thought process and this methodology, you know, because as you say, what they've been doing for the duration of their career is catch a call. You know, so you get a call, you go out, you take the call, you do the report, and move on to the next call. But that's the mindset about, you know, how you doing. What do you need?
Right.
What can I do for you as a victim? Because you know, they're thinking you're looking for them just to say who did it, so I can go after who did it without saying how are you, and what do you need from me?
So by having this program, it allows our officers, even those that are out in patrol that may take the initial complaint, to not be so robotic about the process of what they're going through. You know, they can share with them, say, hey, look, you know, we have a victim services program that, you know, we can refer you to this group of people. But we have to educate the officers about those services and what, you know, what they provide. And so that's one of the reasons why we do the in-service training every year. So as we bring new tools into our arsenal at the city of Mobile, we try to make sure that we get that information out to the people that's going to use the tools that we provided them with, because, you know, I can have a great idea, but if it's never implemented, it's just a great idea.
What is it?
And so the implementation of what we do is in making sure that people give them an opportunity to voice their concerns too. You know, a lot of times police officers are very skeptical about new stuff. And so we have to show them the value in it. And as a line level patrol guy, knowing what I knew when I first joined the sheriff's department years ago, I went out, I took reports, and somebody else did the follow-up. Now what we try to make sure, you go out, you take the report, but you need to know what services that your department has at its disposal so that you can help that person that you just took that complaint from. It's not about filling out that report and moving on to the next one. You've got to make that person that you've spent time with feel empowered that you came and that they're going to get something more than just a report out of this call.
That patrolman is the tip of the spear.
Correct.
Because they don't really, the citizens, for the most part, they don't know the inner workings of the department and all of the various moving parts to it.
So let me take that a step further, because actually it's not the patrolman. It starts with that call to communications, 911 or the non-emergency number.
Right.
That dispatcher sets the tone for how the interaction between that person that has a problem and that first officer that shows up at the house. And so they need to know, the dispatchers need to know what we've got going on, our officers need to know what's going on, and certainly our investigators have to know about the resources that we have available. So again, our training is not just about what we're telling the public and what we're doing for the public, but what we're doing internally to make sure that our officers understand. We have so many different resources available to us. As Commander Graves indicated, we try to make sure that the tools that we use are evidence-based and they're proven to be effective in the field of law enforcement. And again, a lot of people say, well, what's that? Our law enforcement officers today are more educated than they've ever been. Most people say, well, if you just graduate from high school, you can be a police officer. That's true. But 40% of the men and women that work for Mobile Police Department have at least an associate degree or higher currently. I can't tell you the percentage of officers currently in the MPD that are working towards some type of degree. And so they're more educated. They understand that evidence-based practices are the way to go, and we want to make sure that we're constantly moving MPD in the direction that it needs to go by setting the tone and setting the standard in this region, and we'd like to set the tone for the nation if we could. So
it's evolving business, yeah. Yes. I mean, horseshoeing was a thriving business at one time.
Right.
We're about to start running out of time, but I will say this more than anything else. One of the most sobering things for me too, and for everyone to realize, is that let's understand that we're doing a Safe Schools program and we're talking about victim services because we do have young people who are victims of bad things, and they come to school every day with that trauma, and we often don't know it. And it's so important that we understand and truly start embracing the concept of what trauma is and what it looks like and how to address it. So, and this is a great step that we're making as an agency, the Mobile Police Department, and trying to make sure that we do just that. Director Battiste, it's been great talking to you. I talk to you all the time, but nonetheless, it's been great talking to you about this topic and letting other people hear it, because these are things that we talk about all the time, but to get it on a platform where others can hear it is extremely important.
Evolving. We're not putting shoes on horses, and so we have to evolve, and I appreciate the work that you guys do.
Well, thank you. Thank you guys again for having me. It's really been a pleasure to be able to talk about what we're doing at MPD.
Well, thanks, Chief. This has been Safe Schools. Thanks for watching.